You expect me to talk?
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
So welcome to Best Bond Moments Part 2, a new series of videos in which I'm talking about my all-time favorite moments of the Bond franchise. And we all know there are millions of those moments. With every episode I'm sharing 5 of my favorite moments, which could be anything. Could be an action scene, a piece of dialogue, whatever it is, just a moment from any Bond film. And I'm ranking those. With every episode I'm doing a top 5 ranking. So 5 moments with every episode. Without further ado, let's get right into it, and I will share my number 5 with you. So my number 5 is the pre-title sequence in For Your Eyes Only.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bond. Don't concern yourself with the pilot, one of my less useful people. You are now flying remote control airways. Think twice, 007. It's a long way down.
I know a lot of people criticize this for tonally being a little too far from the rest of the film. Because it's a down-to-earth spy thriller, pretty realistic, pretty grim, pretty down-to-earth, and this scene doesn't seem to fit that overall mood, because it's a little more comedic, it's a little more, octopusy or stuff like that. And the whole portrayal of Blofeld, of course they couldn't use the name Blofeld because of legal problems, but we all know it is in fact the character of Blofeld. But yeah, a lot of people think goes a little too much into comedy, doesn't fit the rest of the film. I never had a problem with this. I always loved that scene. I caught myself watching it on YouTube, on the official 007 YouTube channel a lot. Because it's so entertaining and it's such a simple but effective idea. Blofeld controlling this helicopter and therefore controlling Bond and toying around with Bond, taking his time to play a little game with Bond, like a cat which is playing with a toy or a dead mouse or something. And this is so entertaining. Blofeld's evil laugh and his voice. I love his voice and I love his laughter. And I love how much he enjoys to play this game. And he takes a lot of time and like a little kid, like a little child. Like an evil child or something. And Bond seems to be so helpless, and great stunt work also, I mean, there's a guy, it's again what you see is what you get. You have a guy hanging outside of a helicopter while the thing is, doing wild stuff. And yeah, I think this is an amazing scene. Of course, there's a strange little piece of dialogue when Bond kills Blofeld. I never really got that joke, but yeah, I can overlook this. I think it's a very, very entertaining scene. I love this whole thing between Blofeld and Bond, and I love that it's such a simple but effective and entertaining idea. So that's my number 5. So my number 4 is in Skyfall, Raoul Silver's monologue.
And they begin to get hungry. And one by one, they start eating each other until there are only two left, the two survivors. And then what? Do you kill them? No. You take them and release them into the trees. But now they don't eat coconut anymore. Now they only eat rat. You have changed their nature. The two survivors. This is what she made us.
The rat monologue. This is, again, one of the greatest scenes in Bond history and maybe in movie history overall. I'm going that far. It's a perfect... First of all, Javier Bardem is highly charismatic. I love the way he looks, and I love the way the whole thing is set up, you know? Because you see just a tiny glimpse of him somewhere far away. The monologue starts, and it's perfectly timed. Gets a little nearer to the camera, a little nearer into Bond's side. We get to see him. He slowly reveals himself to us and to Bond. We are taking Bond's perspective as the audience. And when he arrives right before Bond, the monologue reaches its peak. And you know how the whole thing is choreographed, and the dialogue itself, the monologue itself, is pretty clever and pretty entertaining. And everything that comes after this monologue is also great. The whole conversation between Bond and Silver, you know, Silver trying to manipulate Bond into, you know, playing with his flaws and stuff, and his fears, and Bond's whole resurrection thing. His hobby is resurrection, and that's all great stuff. It's an amazing scene. It's very clever. It's unique. It's creative, and only in a Bond film. You know, there are no other spy films of this creativity. You know, this artistic value. Let's say there's artistic value to this. You can't find in any other spy franchise or spy thriller. They all have great action scenes and stuff, great stories, but none of those things. Really creative and unique things you won't ever forget. This is one of those scenes you won't forget, and you only get to see in a James Bond film. My number 3 is from The Man with the Golden Gun, the dinner scene and the dialogue between Francisco Scaramanga and Bond.
To us, Mr. Bond, we are the best. There's a useful four-letter word, and you're full of it. When I kill, it's on the specific orders of my government. And those I kill are themselves killers.
Oh, come, Mr. Bond. You disappoint me. You get as much fulfillment out of killing as I do, so why didn't you admit it?
I admit killing you would be a pleasure.
You should have done that when you first saw me. But then, of course, the English don't consider it sporting to kill in cold blood, do they?
Don't count on that.
You know, what's most important for a Bond film, in my opinion, is the character dynamics between the villain and Bond, and the dialogue they are exchanging with each other. The chemistry between those two. I think that's the most important ingredients in a Bond film. And that's what I'm looking for. And that's what I want. And this scene is a perfect example. This is how it works. This is an amazing dialogue. We have these two larger-than-life characters. Bond himself, I don't have to explain why he's larger than life. And on the other hand, we have Francisco Scaramanga, who's, you know, his shadow image. He's like a an evil version of Bond. He's an assassin. He got this, shares the same talents and the same passion for what he's doing. And he's also an outlaw like Bond. You know, he's a kind of an outsider, kind of a rebel. You know, and he's smart, and he respects Bond for exactly those reasons. He respects Bond for being smart and talented, and he respects him so much. He sees him as his direct opposite, and his dream is to duel himself with Bond. You know, mano a mano, one against each other, and he only needs one bullet. You know, he lets Bond have his 6, but he needs only one, and there's 007 carved on the bullet. And isn't this great? Isn't this amazing? And I love how he, you know, it's like in Dr. No. He treats Bond with respect. He treats him like a guest at some 5-star hotel. He provides dinner for him and a good wine and stuff like that. And when he says, "To us, Mr. Bond, we are the best," that's so great. And of course, we have the golden gun itself in the scene, which is maybe the most aesthetically pleasing prop or gadget ever to be seen in a Bond film. It looks so beautiful, and it's such a great and creative idea, you know, to build this whole thing together from different items like a pen and stuff like that, and how the mood changes while they're dining and talking, and it gets a little darker, and Scaramanga holds a Bond at gunpoint, and yeah, it's such a dynamic scene. Those characters, you know, clashing at each other. Two larger-than-life characters, two very smart people and unique people, and having a very unique and interesting conversation. And of course, it all happens at a really exotic set piece, beautiful-looking set piece. This you know, Scaramanga's layer built into into this rock and stuff like that. So yeah, it's one of my favorite scenes in Bond. That's my number 3. My number 2, it's in The Living Daylights, Bond confronting Kananga. I love this whole thing. I love how I'm talking about this in my Live and Let Die review. I think Kananga is also, he's pretty much like Bond. Let's say he wants to be like Bond. He's wearing the nice suits and stuff like that, and he always seems a little jealous of Bond. And how much he has a lot of fun capturing Bond and trying to feed him to the sharks. And he takes his time with this whole thing, and he enjoys every second of it. And he slowly makes a little cut into Bond's arm. And yeah, he's planning to watch the whole thing, you know, Bond getting fed to the sharks. And I love the whole fight that breaks out, the knife fight. It's very short but effective. And the evil grin on Kananga's face, and you know how he's moving the knife, and it's a really great scene. And I think Japhet Kotto, who played Kananga, did an amazing job, especially in this scene. It's an unforgettable confrontation. And although the demise, the character's demise, that's another thing. I don't like this at all. I love everything up to this point where Kananga gets killed. But up to this point, I think it's a brilliant scene. unforgettable Bond moment and one of my all-time favorites. And my number one, it's one again, a Goldfinger moment. And it's one of my favorites in which Goldfinger himself explains Operation Grand Slam.
Man has climbed Mount Everest, gone to the bottom of the ocean. He has fired rockets to the moon, split the atom, achieved miracles in every field of human endeavor, except crime.
I love this whole monologue, how he talks about, man achieved miracles, greatness in every field of human endeavor. He split the atom and climbed Mount Everest and shoot rockets to the moon, but not in crime, and this is such a great idea. And it is such a charismatic monologue, and it reveals the whole megalomania behind his charms, because he's a very charming and likable guy, Goldfinger. Of course, he's a little rude, and he's he betrays people, and he cheats and he steals. And he's trying to accomplish greatness by cheating and stealing. But he's very charming and very entertaining and, I think, likable.
Ministers across the Canadian border. They contain Delta 9.
Delta 9?
What's that? An invisible nerve gas, which disperses 15 minutes after inducing complete unconsciousness for 24 hours. Tomorrow at dawn, the flying circus of my personal pilot, Miss Pussy Galore, will spray it into the atmosphere. Once the population, including the military, has been immobilized, my task force, which Mr. Strap and his people smuggled across the Rio Grande from Mexico, will approach Fort Knox in motorized equipment along Bullion Boulevard, which runs past the depository here and intersects with Gold Vault Road. This fence surrounding the depository, as Mr. Strap reminded us, is electrified. It will be dynamited.
And that's thanks to Gerd Fröbe's portrayal, because Gerd Fröbe is an ugly but likable guy at the same time. And so he was the perfect casting choice for this character, I think. And in this moment where he explains Grand Slam, Operation Grand Slam, his whole craziness and, as I said, megalomania comes to light. And we see, he killing all of those guys, explaining his plan, but just for the fun of it, I think, I think he just enjoys himself, explaining how great he is and how great his plan is. Because he already got the money from them. So I assume, the only reason for him explaining this is because he loves to hear himself talking about those things. He needs a crowd for this, and this is like him entering a stage and giving a performance he really enjoys, because he worked for many years on his plan to achieve this, and and now he enjoys every second in explaining it to a crowd, and it's very smart, a very smart monologue, and as always in Bond, a very entertaining one. And I have to say it once again, Gerd Fröbe speaks himself in the German version, and it's a million times better than the English dubbing. Millions. It's so much better. So more charismatic, more interesting. Every word, the way he pronounces it, the tone of his voice, everything about Fröbe's performance oozes charisma. You cannot, you hang on every word he says, because he makes it so interesting, everything he says. You can't stop listening to him. He could read the telephone book to you and you would still be entertained. And that's what was so great about Gerd Fröbe. So I have to say it. I'm so sorry for people who never got the joy of the German version. Yeah, this is one of my favorite scenes in Bond. And I also love when he says, Fort Knox is a bank, bigger and maybe better protected, but nevertheless, it's just a bank, and of course it can be blown. Great stuff. Goldfinger is my favorite villain in the series and my favorite villain in movie history. It's my favorite movie villain of all time because he just wants more. He's so disgusting. He has everything. He's very, very rich, but he wants more. He just wants more. He cannot get enough. It's just how Fleming wrote his villains. They're a little disgusting and they all he's a fat and ugly guy, and he's a little fat because he has everything, but he just can't get enough, and he's willing to kill people for his greed. He's just greedy, and he accepts 10,000 people dead just to enrich himself even more. I think that's very, very evil. It's in fact the most evil thing I've ever seen in a film. So that's my number one for this week. And yeah, I guess I should do a part 3 of this series because it's so much fun talking about those moments. And as I said, there are many, many great moments in this franchise which are worthy to talk about and to share together. At least snippets of those scenes. So yeah, I had a great time with this. I love talking about those moments. Can't wait to do a part 3 of this. Thank you for watching. Love you, love the Bond community, and see you very soon.